Hello and welcome. This is a video on the 4 reasons that you may not be losing weight. Hey guys, Cheri from The Watering Mouth here, a website that is dedicated to healthy living, the Eat to Live diet and lifestyle, making sure you live your longest, healthiest life possible. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and sign up for my email newsletter. If you do those things, you will get updated every time I publish a video and you'll get some cool free stuff, etc, etc. Just do it. All the cool kids are doing it. This is a video on the 4 reasons that you may not be losing weight. Okay, let's dive in, shall we? So all of these reasons have to do with the Eat to Live Nutritarian diet. If you don't know anything about that, I highly suggest you check it out. It's a diet that's changed my life. It's based on the book Eat to Live. I'm gonna put a link for that book down below as always, so you can check it out and really get into this to know how to extend your lifespan, lose weight, feel better, improve disease resistance, and reverse diseases, etc, etc. Let's get going. So the reason I decided to do this video is because I have some coaching clients that I coach personally through the Eat to Live diet. If you're interested, I'm gonna put a link for that as well. But this comes up when people get into plateaus, or say they start the diet but they maybe aren't losing weight right away and they're not sure why, or they've been doing the diet for a while and then suddenly they can't lose weight. So I have come up with 4 reasons that I hear of a lot, and I want to be able to talk through these so that maybe it's something that would help you if you're in a little stall position. Reason number 1, why you may not be losing weight. Number 1 has to do with quantity. So for instance, people will come to me and they'll say, okay, here's what I'm eating, what am I doing wrong? And what usually happens 9 times out of 10 is that they're having too many grains, too many nuts and seeds, or they're having too much avocado, too much dried fruit. So there's some limited foods on the Eat to Live plan that you're not supposed to have a ton of, and people will tend to have a little bit more and not really realize that they're having too much, right? So what I urge people to do is to write down a food diary. Take a journal every single day, write down what you're eating and the quantities, and look exactly at how much you're having. Really look at how many nuts you're having. Are you having you know, a little sprinkle of nuts in your morning oatmeal, and then you're maybe having a sprinkle of nuts on your salad plus some salad dressing, and maybe you're having like creamed kale for dinner, and then maybe that has some cashews on it as well. Maybe you're even snacking a little bit on nuts throughout the day. It is so easy to get to the place where you're just eating a little bit too many nuts and you don't really think about it too much. So the guidelines for nuts every day are 1 tablespoon of flaxseed, ground flaxseed, no matter what, and that doesn't count into your nut allotment for the day, but then 1 to 2 ounces, 1 to 1.5 ounces if you're in the weight loss category here. So if you're trying to lose weight, 1.5 ounces is not a lot. That's like a small handful here. So like, let's say you just had a massive salad with some dressing. That could be all of the nuts that you sort of get for the day in your allotment. So that's the first thing that I encourage people to look at, is how many nuts you're having. The next is grains. One thing to keep in mind on the Eat to Live diet is that grains are completely unnecessary. You don't have to have grains at all if you don't want to. The guideline for grains on Eat to Live is like a 1/2 cup to a cup per day cooked. So that means if you're having oatmeal in the morning, you've just used up your allotment of grains. So you wouldn't want to have any quinoa in a soup, or maybe some wheat berries on a salad or something like that. You really would want to cut those out for the rest of the day to make sure that you're in that guideline there. And remember that high starchy vegetables like sweet potatoes or white potatoes or butternut squash, a lot of these squashes, they happen to be a lot higher in starch and higher in calories and lower in micronutrients than other foods, just like the grains are. So don't discount the fact that you need to limit starches as well as grains. So that's all in the same category of a 1/2 cup to 1 cup per day. And then that's another just little thing to keep in mind is, of course, if you're having a soup that already has grains in it, you want to think about how many grains are in that soup, or maybe you used some nuts to make that soup creamier, or any other dish. Just really consider the fact that there may be some like hidden sources of nuts and grains or other foods that you're not thinking of. If you find that, say you have a trigger about grains like I do, that when you kind of have them you want to have more and more and more, you need to sort of get through that maybe, and that would be okay to cut those out for a period of time. That's what I did when I started anyways. Then we'll talk about dried fruits a little bit, because dried fruits are in the same category sort of as grains, in that you don't need them at all. They're totally unnecessary, but we use them to sweeten things, right? So we might make a nice smoothie with 1 or 2 dates, or we might make some like a little dessert of like some chopped up walnut date balls or something like that as a little snack. The limitation for dates in a day is like 1 to 2 tablespoons. So that's like 1 medjool date or 2 medjool dates. So that would be your limit there. And if you're having more, and then let's say you put some raisins in your salad or whatever, those would all count towards the same category that you'd only want to have 1 or 2 tablespoons of. You really do need to sort of consider that when you're thinking through, what salad dressing did I have? Did it have raisins in it, or did I sprinkle some in my oatmeal, or that sort of thing. Another food that some people tend to overeat a little bit on is avocado. So avocado is a really wonderful source of healthy fats, just like the nuts are and seeds that we want to make sure we're having. But if you're having more than, say, a third to a half of an avocado per day, that's going to be beyond the guidelines. So you want to make sure that you're not having more avocado than you should, even though we know it's delicious and it's a wonderful salad dressing with just avocado and lime juice, for instance, mixed into a salad. It makes it really creamy and delicious, but you do want to make sure that you're having the right amount. And then of course, dairy, meats, things like this that are much higher calorie animal products, we don't put those in our diet at all if possible, especially in the first 6 weeks. 100% limited there. You may not have those ones, but if you're in the maintenance plan and you're still having trouble losing weight, consider that dairy and meat, even if you're having only 5 or 10% of your diet from it, can really add up if it's with some other things, okay? So as we may be eating too much of certain things, we also may be eating too little of other things. So I want to just mention this as a side note, because a lot of the times when people are having too much of something that's high calorie, like the nuts and seeds or avocado or whatever, it means that they're, or grains especially, it means that they're replacing that with other things that they could be eating that are lower calories. So you may not be having enough greens, first of all. So greens are super important to get both just regular greens, and you want to get cruciferous raw greens, which would mean anything like cabbages or broccoli or cauliflower. You want to make sure that some of your green intake is these cruciferous vegetables. And then greens, of course, we're talking like romaine lettuce, arugula, and kale, and I think moo needs to be a part of this right now. So you want to make sure that you get the greens first, and then non-starchy green vegetables are really important. Cooked and raw of both. You're looking for kind of like 1 pound of raw and 1 pound of cooked vegetables per day. And just to keep in mind, of course, that we mean non-starchy. So just making sure you're getting a variety and that the bulk of what you're eating is actual just greens. And then the last category is beans. So you want to make sure you're having at least a half a cup to a cup of beans every day. And make sure that when you have beans, you make sure that you have enough, because that's really going to give you some good satiety and feel like your meal is full and bulky. Okay, Moo, we're done. Bye. So just make sure that you get these foods as the bulk of your whole daily intake. Make sure you think these first, and then of course make sure you add the other ones in as well, berries and nuts and seeds, but making sure that you don't eat, oh my gosh, too many berries and nuts and seeds every day to the exclusion of the most important foods, which are greens, veggies, and beans. Hello, Miss Needy. This is little Miss Needy. She has to have a cameo in every video. Right, Moo? Right, Moo? Say hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. All right, for real this time. Which brings me to reason number 2, why you may not be losing weight. So this is related to number 1, but I want to sort of denote it in a different way, because a lot of people don't think of this. We all have different bodies. We all have different metabolisms, and you want to make sure that you're eating for you, meaning you want to be very in tune with who you are and what your body needs and doesn't need. So in the quantity kind of idea here, number 2, the second idea here is that you may be having too much of everything all at once. So as I sort of mentioned before, when I started, I had to cut out grains because I couldn't really deal with grains emotionally. That sounds really weird, but I mean, I just was having too many of them. So I cut those out completely. And I realized after a while, I wasn't losing weight anymore, and I couldn't figure out why. And I realized it was because, okay, I'm following the guidelines really well, but it turns out that a tablespoon or 2 of dates plus half an avocado plus, you know, 1 to 1.5 ounces of nuts and seeds plus a half a cup of grains or a cup of grains, plus all the other good stuff, the beans, the greens, and the vegetables. That was too much for me to personally be able to lose weight. So I realized, like, one day I would cut out grains completely and I'd say, oh, I lost weight, cool. Or the next day I would have grains and no dates, and I would lose weight again. And I was like, oh, this is really working here. But I realized what it is that I personally, Cheri, cannot follow the exact guidelines for what page 216 of Eat to Live talks about and the things that you're supposed to have and not have. I needed to make sure that I cut back a little bit. Oh, and the other thing was, in that I wasn't eating any avocado really. I was having some good nuts and seeds, but I wasn't having avocado. So I realized I kind of had to play with those quantities and make sure that I found the right amount for me to feel satisfied and not hungry and still be able to lose weight at the same time so I could get to that natural weight that I was going towards, but I had to make sure that I didn't eat each thing every single day because I wasn't going to lose weight on that. So you have to kind of figure out what works for you and your body, and it may be that the limited foods you actually have to limit a little bit more than the book says. Okay, the number 3 reason why you may not be losing weight on the Eat to Live diet. So this is something that comes up in my coaching a lot actually, and it's this idea of exercise, because people come into this with all different levels of exercise. Some people have never exercised before. Some people are massive exercisers and they exercise too much. Some people don't really do much at all, but they might every once in a while. And exercise is an important consideration, of course, with weight loss because you're burning calories. So what's going to happen in your body is if you burn calories, your body's going to say, I need to make up those calories, right? If you're dieting and you're trying to lose weight, you have to understand that your body is going to want to make up for those calories. So it's going to maybe make you feel a little bit more cravey. It's going to make you feel a little bit more hungry after your exercise, depending on the level of exercise that you did. Of course, if you go walking, it's going to be a little bit less than if you just ran a marathon. You're going to have to eat, you know, less in that case. But so you want to be thinking of that. How much are you exercising? How much is your body going to want to replace? And how much are you going to replace in that respect? The most important thing to keep in mind is that Eat to Live does not require exercise in the beginning. So if you're substantially overweight and you're trying to lose weight but you're having trouble, I would encourage you to just think about the food first. And the most important reason you want to do that to the exclusion of exercise is because doing the exercise part and the food part can be very overwhelming at first. I know it was too overwhelming for me. The only thing I did when I first started Eat to Live was a little bit of walking here and there, and that was it. I wasn't thinking about lifting weights or doing any of this advanced cardio kind of stuff, or, you know, P90X or anything like that. I was really just focusing on getting a little bit of movement in during my day since I had a desk job, and just focusing on the food, because I tell you, learning all the food stuff can take a long time. Learning how to cook the foods and prepare the foods and how to shop, that stuff can take a really long time. So you want to make sure that you're not confusing yourself by trying to do too much at once. So keep in mind that Eat to Live does not require any exercise in the beginning. Even if you're a sedentary individual, it does not require any exercise, especially if you're substantially overweight. You will still get results if you don't exercise. Now, as you get lower and lower and you get closer to your goal weight, exercise becomes more important. But by that point, you'll understand a lot more about how to do the food and how to eat this way to get closer to your goal by adding in exercise at that point. It doesn't have to be anything involved. You don't have to do, you know, insanity, or you don't have to do marathons, or, you know, being a massive weightlifter and understanding how to use all the machines at the gym. You don't have to do any of that stuff. Exercise can simply be in the beginning going for a walk every day or every other day, or doing a little jog, or going rollerblading, or it doesn't have to be something major. It can be something small in the beginning. And as you get more and more used to the eating plan and the exercise, then you can work up. So make sure that you don't allow your exercise to hinder what you're doing with the food, because the food is the most important part. And once you get that down, you can change it as you go. Just understand that if you're eating a certain amount of calories and then you exercise on top of that, your body's going to want to replace those calories, especially if you're eating to sort of a deficit. What we're going here in Eat to Live is reducing the amount of calories but increasing the amount of bulk, so that you never feel crazy hungry. You don't feel crazy like you would on another diet. You're still getting enough bulk, but you're not getting as many calories. And what happens over time is that your metabolism shifts to be able to feel that and understand it and be okay with it and not make you feel crazy. But if you're always adding so much intense exercise on top of that, that's gonna really make it difficult in the very beginning for you to understand how much you need to eat to take in and how much is appropriate for weight loss. As long as you're eating a ton of greens and beans and vegetables and things that are not starchy, low calorie, tons of those, you're going to lose weight as long as that is the main portion of your diet, because they're so low calorie. The 4th reason why you may not be losing weight on the Eat to Live diet is that you may just have a different set point than someone else. I'm going to do another video about set point in the future, but set point basically is this concept of what is your body, your body weight that it's supposed to be at. If you followed the Eat to Live diet perfectly, meaning you ate all the right foods, you ate only to be satisfied and you didn't overeat, you didn't look at scales anymore, you just kind of ate to when you were supposed to eat, but you were eating all the right foods all the time, your body would naturally get to a set point. It would naturally get to a weight that it's supposed to be at, that it's happy at, and that it's going to be reversing disease and having all this cellular repair mechanisms, and your digestion is working properly, and all these things are going well. Once you get there, your weight naturally gets to a natural place where it says, okay, I'm where I'm supposed to be. I don't need to lose anymore. I don't need to gain anymore. And for my height, I'm where I'm supposed to be. In Eat to Live, he talks about this, where once you've done the diet properly for a period of time, your body gets there. And it's not decided by you. That's the thing. It's, you don't pick it. You don't decide, oh, I'm 5'2½", so my best weight is going to be 110, and that's it. And, you know, because that's what I see on TV or whatever it is. My natural set point might be 95 pounds. It might be 120 pounds. I don't know. It depends on a lot of different factors. How much muscle you have, your exercise intensity, your natural metabolism, all of these things are going to come together to create a natural set point for you that your body's going to decide, not you. Your mind isn't going to decide it. Your body's going to decide it. So once your body gets to that place, it's going to say, okay, I either need to eat more, so it's going to have you eat a little bit more calories, or it's going to be like, okay, this is perfect, we're going to stay here, you keep eating what you're eating. And then say you start to exercise more, then your body's going to need to eat a little bit more. It's going to tell you that. These are the kinds of things that will decide themselves as you go and as you get really, really good at this. So when I was doing really, really well a couple years before I got pregnant, and right now I'm in a weight loss mode again, and we'll see where that goes. But when I was feeling really well, the weight loss was kind of easy, and I didn't even have to think much about it. It just kind of went. And if you're eating the right amounts of foods, and you're eating to the very specific things of paying attention to the amount of hunger that you have and eating to being satiated and rather than full, you're not overeating, you're eating the proper foods, all these kinds of things are in line, the body gets to where it's supposed to get. So the fourth reason that you might not be losing weight is that you're not listening to your body. It's that you are not listening to your body tell you where that set point is. Because what'll happen when you're really in tune with it is you'll number one, never need a scale again. You'll never have to use a scale. And number two, you'll be listening to your true hunger signals. So if you're actually getting hunger here, this is where I feel hunger when I'm a real true nutritarian, and you can read about this in Eat to Live. True hunger is a feeling of yearning, it's a feeling of salivation, it's a feeling of wanting to eat more. I kind of feel a little in my upper chest as well. You feel hungry here. If you'll feel hungry in your stomach, that's not true hunger. Those are symptoms of addiction. That's symptoms of eating unhealthful foods that are giving us improper signals. So when we no longer feel this irritability, you know, hunger pangs, we don't feel this like these growling stomachs, these kinds of things, those are not true hunger symptoms. Those are more of withdrawal symptoms from eating standard American diet foods. When we're actually listening to that hunger signal and we're going, okay, I'm hungry, so you start eating a good 100% nutritarian meal, then you get to a point where, okay, I'm not hungry anymore, I'm comfortable, I've had enough, you feel satiated, but you don't feel stuffed. That is the proper amount of food. And you'll know it's the proper amount of food because you'll actually be able to get to the next meal without being starved, like that crazy ravenous starvation feeling. But you'll also start to get that true hunger again right before the next meal, which could be 4, 5, 6 hours later, depending on how you're eating. If you're actually eating enough to where you feel satiated and you get hungry at the next meal, but not starved and crazy and ravenous and hangry, as long as you're having these true hunger symptoms, you're eating the right amounts and your body is naturally in that place going to get you to that set point. But if you're eating too many grains, you're eating too many nuts, you're eating too many of the limited foods, you're exercising too much, you're not listening to these hunger signals, you're overeating maybe, or you're under eating on purpose, these kinds of things. If you're not following all of these guidelines all at the same time, and of course it sounds overwhelming in the beginning, but once you get to be a nutritarian, it's pretty simple actually, because the point is that the body is this like amazing supercomputer that knows exactly how much it needs. Period. It knows, and it will tell you. You just have to get used to listening to it. Okay, I have blabbed enough about this concept. Those are the 4 main reasons why you may not be losing weight. If these concepts are foreign to you, please watch this video again, read the books again, learn these concepts, because these are the most important concepts that you need to get used to and have become just second nature for you to be able to get to that natural set point. It's probably a pretty low weight than you're even prepared for, and to be able to do it naturally without having to think about it and stress and use the scale and all that kind of stuff, because there will be a place where it just happens naturally and you no longer have to think about it. Doesn't that sound wonderful? All right, well, here's to that. Here's to us all getting to that place in our lives where we don't have to stress or worry about food, where we enjoy it and we're happy, and we're getting to our natural set point weights and everything is running like clockwork. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you liked it. Please support me by subscribing to my channel, liking, commenting down below. Tell me about your experience with your natural set point, about your metabolisms. Are there any things here that maybe you think you might be doing that you need to kind of adjust a little bit here and there? Let's have a discussion about this video. Also, please support me on Patreon. If you really like what I do and you want me to be able to do this and definitely keep giving you these great videos, please think of supporting me. Just maybe $1 or $2 a month would help so much. And not to mention, you guys get some content that you don't get, that I don't share anywhere else on YouTube. So please check that out. I'm gonna put a link for that down below and above. And I hope you guys have a great day. I make videos every week about the Eat to Live lifestyle, so if you're interested, please check back often, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!